The episode begins as we see an evil Dark Lord growling in defeat while he's being watched over by a man wearing only a red luchador mask and boxers. The blonde elf companion that's with the guy then cries out in joy while declaring the Dark Lord defeated. Shortly after, the Dark Lord's body vanishes completely, the sky begins to clear up completely of the darkness that was enveloping the land. The blonde elf continues to thank the underwear-clad hero in utter joy, referring to him by his name Sunraku. Sunraku then turns to her and agrees that the journey has been long and hard, emphasizing how he's been waiting for this very moment to the blonde elf he calls Faria. As Faria smiles back to the lightly dressed hero, she is then met by Sunraku mid-air, demonstrating the importance of helmets as he lands a jumping sidekick square on her face. Shouting about how Faria is the real Dark Lord and how the world is better off without her, the screen fades to black as it reveals the scene had been a part of a VR game called Faria Chronicle Online. Sunraku, now in reality, screams out in victory as he was finally able to beat the complete failure of a game. In this story's world, fully immersive VR games have overtaken traditional console games as the norm. Because of this, besides a few exceptions, there's a mountain of games that exist that don't live up to the potential of next-gen technology. These games are known as trash games. Our hero of the story, Rakuro Hizutomi, who we saw playing as Sunraku earlier, is one of the few freaks who enjoy and seek out trash games. He is known as the Trash Game Hunter. Now dressed up for school, Rakuro greets a good morning to a lone butterfly enjoying a healthy serving of melon bread in the morning next to a magazine. Rakuro puts on his shoes as he lets his mother know in another room that her butterfly has escaped from the dungeon. After walking to school, Rakuro is now sleepy and done for the day, just like any other good student should be. Of course, one should always remember that danger lurks in every corner, and now, Rakuro is about to be ambushed by a brown-haired girl eager to let loose her very healthy amount of love and attraction. Luckily, Rakuro brought his evasion stats to school and is saved by unnamed best boy number 1, who asks him about what it's like not being able to get any sleep the night before. In a games shop called Rockroll, Mana Iwamaki is putting up a poster while being happy that summer is about to start and more gamers are finally able to sweat. As the manager of the shop, Mana greets stalker girl number 1, apparently called Rei Saiga, as she enters the store. With her experienced eyes, Mana tells Rei that she's out of luck and that her mark Rakuro is not at the store today either. Caught red-handed, Mana expresses how she misses the days she too would stalk young boys around the city. Regardless, Mana gives Rei some intel about the latest trash game Rakuro is playing. As Mana reveals the red boxers from earlier were actually swimming trunks, Rakuro enters the store and forces Rei to abandon quest and start sneaking behind the shelves to avoid detection. Rakuro then vents out about how much of an annoyance Ferreira was from the game he was playing, accusing her of being a gaslighting girl boss who took no responsibility and caused all the worry. Mana notices Rei at the corner, smiling at her prey. Wanting to get the one-sided lovebirds together, she decides to bait Rakuro into playing Shangri-La Frontier, a god-tier game. The Trash Game Hunter takes the bait and gets a copy of the game. Released last spring, Shangri-La Frontier received overwhelmingly positive reviews and even received a Guinness World Record for the most concurrent players online. In the game, one plays as an adventurer from a lineage of spacefaring explorers thousands of years ago. Despite that, the setting of the game has technology at the level of the medieval era, blending together a mix of fantasy and sci-fi. Booting up his VR console, Rakuro gains a vision of an ad for Utopia Entertainment Software, a leader in software and hardware development. It was founded by Tsukuyo Tsukiri, the programming genius behind the VR game systems widely used all around. Now, met with the starting screen of Shangri-La Frontier, Rakuro goes through the standard procedure of character creation found in any RPG MMO. In awe of the extensive character creation choices that are extinct in any real Japanese RPG, he decides to take character creation seriously for once. Of course, that leads to him ending up with an almost naked chicken man of a character, with all his funds going towards the best weapons he can get instead of any armor. Skipping through the Star Wars-esque wall of prologue text, the game starts in a very unrealistic fashion with no cinematic or NPC telling Rockero what to do. Instead, Rockero is able to move around and fully appreciate the god level of movement available to him in this non-trash game. Taking a look at his surroundings and examining the map, Rockero tries to find the starting town, not realizing that his choice of Wanderer as his origin and character creation caused him to just spawn in the middle of nowhere. Rockero examines his stats as he complains about his own life choices of putting almost all of his stats into luck. Luckily, he is saved from thinking too hard as he's attacked by a small goblin, which gives him a great opportunity to test out the fluid combat system. Examining his spoils, he is again ambushed by a rustling bush, which then turns out to be a small rabbit, which then turns out to be a living torpedo that collapses a tree in one strike. Acknowledging the danger that he's in, Rockero parries and counters the next attack the rabbit throws. This ends up as a dangerous yet short exchange where Rockero thrash talks the game for being too easy for being god tier. Rockero then levels up and is finally shown a tutorial hint telling him about how skills exist in the game. He realizes how god tier the game is and how he should be able to fight against higher level enemies due to the importance of personal skill and how it's rewarded. He also realizes how he's done and thought all of this without running into any bugs like he's experienced with the many other trash games he's played before. Ecstatic, Rockero then heads off into a hunt for bunny loot that leads him down a path fighting all sorts of enemies and trying out all sorts of skills. After leveling up and continuing on his journey to being the luckiest man alive, he pulls out a pair of Vorpal choppers that he gained through the extinction of a whole 50 bunnies. He then realizes that his bloody path has led him pretty far from the starter town he intended to head to at the start. Now, Secondale is much closer to where he is and is just a bridge away. Lucky for him again, the bridge is guarded by a boss-level snake monster that's still wearing a Goju Satoru wig from Halloween. He charges forward with his dual blades, enthusiastic about the fun times in front of him playing Shangri-La Frontier. Thanks for watching today's episode. Hope you meet again next time for the next anime recap.